Have you ever taken a cold, hard look at your habits and then thought to yourself, man, I am a big old dumpster fire of problems and something needs to change? Hi, if we've not met before, I'm Shelley from Taming Frenzy. I talked in a previous video about the fact that it frequently takes longer than 21 days to build a habit. I will leave a link in the description below to that video, or you can click the card above. But today I want to talk about how we actually go about forming new habits. A lot of us get to the point where we look at our life and we're really not real happy with what we see or the way things are going. We may realize that we have neglected our health, our appearance, our relationships, or any of a myriad of other things that are important. And we then decide that now is the time that we seriously need to make a change. We want to improve, and we want to get rid of those bad habits and replace them with some new ones and some good ones. We are ready to become a better version of ourselves. We're finally ready to be the person who reads a lot of books. We're ready to be the person who eats healthy and drinks plenty of water. We want to be the person who finally writes the book instead of just sitting around talking about doing that. You get the idea. There are so many areas of our lives that could be improved if only we made some changes to our habits. However, getting into the habit of doing something is often easier said than done. Unfortunately, like I talked about before, bad habits seem to just pop up out of nowhere, while creating good habits takes a whole lot of work. But let's make this a little easier by looking at a 4-step process that we can follow until we have internalized this new behavior and turned it into a habit that's as automatic as brushing our teeth. The first thing is for you to decide what it is you want to do. What do you want this new habit to be? What is it that you want to change? And here you need to be as specific as possible. This is not the time to be vague. This is the time to be very specific. Instead of saying something like, I want to exercise more, be specific and say something like, I want to exercise for at least 30 minutes, 3 days a week. Don't just tell yourself you want to eat healthy. Instead, commit to making a weekly menu plan and putting those items on your grocery shopping list. And then don't deviate from the plan. Deciding what you want this new habit to be and then committing to it really and truly is about half the battle. The second step is for you to really examine why you want to create this new habit. Now, I'm going to be honest. Sometimes it feels like all I ever hear online is figure out your why, determine your why, because that advice is everywhere to the point that, frankly, it begins to feel a little bit cliche. But without a really, really good reason why you want to make a change, the chances are high you probably won't do it. Because change is hard. Most of us don't really want to do it. And at some point in the process, you're going to hit a roadblock and you're going to ask yourself if making this change is really worth the effort. You're going to be tempted with some mouth-wateringly delicious treat, and you're going to be sitting there asking yourself, is losing weight really worth passing up this cherry cheesecake for right now? Or you're going to be downsizing and organizing some things, and you're going to run across a box of items that you had collected years ago, and you're going to ask yourself, well, gee, do I really want to live in a tidy home bad enough to get rid of these things that used to be really important to me? And even when we know in our brain that something's important and that we should do it, sometimes just knowing it is not really enough to help keep us on track when we're faced with temptation or when emotions begin to overtake the decision-making process. We're faced with a snack or some other more comfortable activity, and that just seems so much easier than continuing pressing on, trying to create a new habit. Because if we're really honest with ourselves, most people are more driven by short-term pleasure and momentary gain than they are by long-term improvement. Short-term gratification will win every time over long-term gratification unless you've got a very strong why and a really good reason that's motivating you to keep on working. Third, use reminders to help keep you on track. Now, you may have started a new habit and then notice for the first few days after you start this, it's pretty easy. You're pumped up, you're excited, you're revved up, and you're ready to go. You are ready to tackle the world at this point, and things are going along pretty smoothly. But a few days in, that all changes, right? Here's where it becomes easy to slip back into old bad habits because those things are easy, they're comfortable, and they're familiar. And that new habit that we're trying to create, well, it's just getting a little bit harder every day, isn't it? So use reminders. Write it on your calendar or your personal planner. Put a reminder on your phone. Put sticky notes in appropriate locations around your house to help you remember. Get an accountability buddy. Promise yourself a reward or an incentive. And using a habit tracker can be very helpful to help you really keep an eye on your progress. Putting it down in black and white makes it really difficult for us to lie to ourselves or to kind of, massage the results a little bit so that things look a little better than we really did. Habit trackers help keep us honest, and some of us, or maybe it's just me, some of us need that. Finally, make it a part of your routine until it does finally become a habit. Throw out any expectations you have going in about just how long this is going to take for this new habit to go into effect. Because when you go in with an expectation of how long it's going to take, all you've really done is set yourself up to be disappointed when it takes longer, and you've set yourself up to fail. When you go in with an expectation of how long it's going to take, you automatically in your mind begin comparing yourself to others who may have formed a habit sooner than you did. And that comparisonitis is never a good thing for any of us. Building habits takes time, and it varies from person to person. Until then, use an existing routine to help you build a new habit. An example is if maybe you want to add some stretches to your morning routine. If this is something you want to do, then you might look at inserting those stretches between picking out your clothes for the day and actually putting your clothes on. Even before doing the stretches becomes automatic, the fact that you have placed it between two things that are already part of your routine will begin to help you remember and will reinforce that as part of the routine. Something that we don't want to do is to try and rely on willpower alone. So make that daily walk part of your after-dinner routine, or change from grabbing a snack out of the vending machine at 10 o'clock to bringing something healthy from home. The truth is, creating new habits is not easy. Let's go through 8 quick tips that will help to make this process just a little bit easier. First, schedule it, put it on your to-do list. Second, track your implementation. This is where those habit trackers come in very handy. Third, pre-select rewards for hitting certain milestones. Personally, this is one that I have found to be extremely helpful to me. When I'm thinking about a new habit that I want to create, I think about some of the milestones that may be involved in making this a habit. And in doing that, I then think about what would be some possible rewards that I might like to have for hitting those milestones. Celebrating and recognizing how far we've come and the progress that we've made is important because it helps keep us motivated. And the rewards do not have to be big or expensive. It can be something small, it can be something intangible even, but something to celebrate the achievement that you've made so far by hanging in there. Next, tell someone else and be accountable. When you do this, you will want to choose a family member or a friend who is in your corner, who is totally supportive, and is 100% in favor of you creating the habit that you want to. And I'll urge caution here because not everybody may be as supportive as you would hope they would be. So choose wisely when you do this. What you want is someone who is committed to your progress, someone who wants the best for you, and someone who can encourage you while keeping you honest and keeping you accountable. Now, some people like to post this, for example, maybe on their Facebook page and be very public in their announcement. Personally, that's not my style, but it works for lots of people. Others may benefit from finding a group that is trying to achieve the same thing, and in that group they may find the perfect accountability buddy for them. However, all of these are optional. You do not have to tell anybody else about your goal or your habit if you don't want to. That's just something that's a personal preference for you. Next, it's easiest if you can piggyback on habits that you've already got. For example, when I talked about inserting the morning stretches between going to your closet and picking out your clothes and between actually getting dressed, that's piggybacking on a routine that you already have. Next, make slip-ups costly. Here's an idea that can be fun, or maybe expensive depending on how it goes. But take a jar, put it on the kitchen counter or someplace else where you can find it, and anytime you have a slip-up and either don't perform the habit or you hit a roadblock and you make a mistake, put a predetermined amount of money in there. Then when it's all over, take that money to do something with that's fun. And in addition to having an accountability buddy, Sometimes having actually a habit buddy can be very helpful. This is someone who's not just keeping you accountable, but someone who is actively working towards the same ends that you are. You can cheer each other on. You can celebrate each other's progress. You can keep each other honest. But having someone that you are actually working with who can understand the struggles that you may be going through to create this habit is something that I have found that can be very, very helpful. And sometimes if one partner is good, multiple partners may be better. For example, you might consider a weight loss group or an exercise group or whatever, but there are groups online that have goals or habits and things that they're trying to work towards. You can find one of these groups and you may find many people that are working to achieve the same end that you are. Now, with all of these tips, take the ones that work for you, use those. Discard the rest. There is no list that works for everybody all of the time. Each of us has to find the strategies and the tips that work the best for us and put those to use for us. In a book that I read recently, I came across a sentence that said, "What you don't change, you choose." And that sentence hit me like a ton of bricks because there have been things in the past that I have been bad about letting slide. It was easy to let them slide, and it didn't cost me anything. Or so I thought. The real truth, though, is that some of those things that I let slide and didn't pay attention are catching up with me. And while I cannot change the past, I can work in the here and now to make the future better. And the good thing is, so can you.